Hello and welcome to the Center of Excellence for Meditation from Yoga Vidya. My name is Yashoda from blissunion.com, and today I have the honor again to welcome Hector. Welcome, Hector, from Three Jewels at Enlightenment Studio in New York. I'm very happy that you're here, Hector. Last time we spoke about your path to meditation and like an overall view, but today is the day where I really want to know from you, your students, also the students from Geshe Michael, which I came to know years ago. They have like a liveliness, a vibrancy, and an unlimited joy and feeling of wanting to help others with not putting boundaries there. And I would like to know where does it come from? How do you guys meditate? What's the nitty-gritty of it? What does it look like? Can you introduce us?
Yes, of course. Thank you for noticing too. Honestly, thank you for noticing. Because I think we have the tendency to get so constricted when something is super important, like our road to enlightenment, super important, right? More important than the mortgage, more important than anything else. My happiness, super important. So we're now serious about our happiness. It's a little ridiculous that we then dogmatize the steps that should bring us to ultimate joy. If the path is supposed to bring you to ultimate joy, right? A state of awakening, Buddhahood. Buddhahood includes that everything you experience must give you the highest bliss. That's joyful, uplifting, hopeful, exciting. It's not boring, down, quiet, and tight. It's not that, but we make it that way. Yeah. And I've seen it. Why? And I think we mix up the discipline side, and we have assumptions that discipline must mean seriousness. I don't know where that comes from, but I at least that was my experience. Yeah. And you're right. In this tradition, that there is a requirement for you to be joyful. So if you want to put it in restrictive terms, there's a requirement. Your job description to become a Buddha, to become enlightened, your job description includes everything gives you joy, love, hope, uplifted human and beyond human emotions, right?
That's part of our job description too, but it's sort of not reachable or not always, let's say, in the moment. How you have very young, from my perspective, you have very young.
From my perspective too.
You have very young students, and you know, it's not in our mind that people in their 20s or 30s run around like enlightened Buddhas. So where does this joy come from?
Good. Three things I want to tell you about, I think, where that joy comes from. Number one, it comes from personally, okay, me as a Buddhist teacher, having learned Buddhism, with all the other people in the 90s and 2000s who learned Buddhism, we took it very dogmatic. And if you go to most Buddhist centers that I've been to, including the old Three Jewels, we're pretty serious about doing things, you know? We tend to be serious about doing this very important thing. From my personal perspective, and I'll be bluntly honest, and I think this is why the emphasis of joy you'll find at the Enlightenment Studio at Three Jewels. I know that when we turn from 20 to 30 and from 30 to 40, we begin to lose grip on our hopes and dreams. The vibrancy, the excitement that you had in your early 20s, that everything is amazing, will very quickly begin to disappear, transform, and you're going to have to work hard now, and you're going to have to commit, and you have to be responsible, and you have to be an adult. And we get all these stories, grow up. Yeah. And I know the heart-wrenching disappointment that comes when you have to say to that dream of yours, I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be an author, I'm going to be famous in New York, and that begins to not be the way you thought it was going to be. And the feeling is it crumbles. Mm-hmm. So a big first experience of impermanence in the age, the movement through the ages from a young adult to an old person, right, is filled with these realities that everything you start, all your dreams don't come true. Yeah. And then here comes, so that's very disappointing. Yeah. And it can lead to depression and sadness and hopelessness and giving up on the system and humanity. But then at the same time, and this is the promise of many of our traditions, and I found it in Buddhism so clearly, wake up, ism. Wake up. If you understand the nature of things, there could be nothing that can cause you to be disappointed. There can be nothing that can harm you. If things are empty of a nature and things are just a reflection of what you've done in the past, and you've only done good things in the past, you must always only necessarily experience good things. Even apparent failures, even apparent the job didn't happen.
I think
because your mind could experience it as a learning rather than a disappointment, as an opportunity to go into a new way of being rather than a restriction. And that comes from our minds, the interpretation of what happened when my dream changed, not my dream failed, right? And that is a big, big difference. That comes from this thing called the 6 perfections, I think. And it comes from very particularly in meditation. There's this very particular moment I want to talk about after you ask your question, of where you begin the habit of reinterpreting impermanence into joy. Impermanence into joy. Yeah.
And I think sorry I interrupted you before, but I think for this talk, maybe if people haven't seen the talk before, if you just could say like 2 sentences about the concept of emptiness.
Sure. Emptiness is a really complex idea. We make it complex, but it's extremely simple. All it says, and just listen to it, like it's so simple we miss it. The things we engage with, physical things or mental things, and there's nothing else. The things we engage with don't have the nature they appear to have. Nothing is forcing or radiating the experience into you. You are actually forcing your experience onto things that are empty of having that quality. All that means is whatever we put in our minds through body, speech, and mind, then just get projected onto everything. That's why some people love this music and someone else hates that same music. It's not coming from the music. The music is empty of having those qualities. That's all it means. You can't find awesomeness in any particular wavelength in that music. If it was there, everybody must feel awesome. The fact that one person hates your favorite music is proof of emptiness. And emptiness is true of music, of relationships, your best friend, yourself, your idea of self, the way the world is. And it's just this incredible, once you realize everything is not what it appears, that's the illusion. Everything is the way I am forced to experience it, not by choice, right? I force it based on what I did in the past. Then you now have the key to unlock your suffering and turn it into bliss and joy. And joy.
What are the practical steps like in the meditation? How do you practically apply this wisdom insight, that it's not that you things from outside, you perceive them and they go into mind, but rather from your mind, according to your karma, you project things through your eyes outside onto the world? How does it translate into your meditation practice? Because it must have like an instantaneous result. Otherwise, this joy wouldn't be so like lively instantly there.
What meditation does is it reveals that is the way we create our reality. We're forever projecting concepts onto otherwise empty objects. Yeah. So if you meditate, let's say I'm going to meditate on my breakup. I recently broke up with someone that we're together 9.5 years, right? So I just bring that object of meditation to mind, my ex, Stephen. Okay. So as soon as Stephen comes up in my meditation, my mind will have a tendency to have a certain feeling, resonance, and like all the complexity of 9 years comes up when I see his face in my meditation. Yeah. And I'm mostly unconscious of it. So meditation is like, can we get really still and see what the stories are coming up in relation to a Stephen? And for me, it's like, oh, we had so many awesome things. We built the Enlightenment Studio together. We're best friends. He's so naughty and sarcastic. Oh, my heart hurt when we broke up, etc. All these feelings come up. But the mind will lie to us thinking that Stephen's making me do that. If Stephen made all those feelings come up, then whenever I put a picture of Stephen in front of you, because he's the source of the feeling, you must feel exactly the same I do, and you don't. Stephen's walking down the street right now, and not everyone's having those feelings. Those feelings are mine, held by my mind. But my mind will then, to create a shortcut, will lie and say, look, Stephen made you feel that way. Stephen made you feel, and that's where attachment comes in and whatever. So in meditation, we want to settle down, so still, and observe how the mind is actually fabricating, because Stephen is empty of being the source of my joy. Stephen is empty of being the source of my pain. Stephen is joy of being the source of whatever, right? It's just a collection of body parts and a mouth. And then everyone projects onto a person like that. But that's the vipassana you can have, the insight you could have about your mind doing that. That takes practice. Before we get there, you actually build in the joy in the practice of meditation. I'll explain what I mean. Basic meditation, the first 4 stages of meditation are really basic, right? The first stage of meditation, this is like documented hundreds of years. The first stage of meditation, which means your capacity to stay on an object, right? You can either bring an emotion as your object of attention, or you can bring a picture of Stephen as the object of your attention, or your teacher, or whatever, right? So you choose, what am I going to focus on to see what the mind does? Let's bring a picture of a holy teacher in front of us. I will stay beautifully connected to the picture, the image, the visualization of my holy teacher. Why? We'll talk about why later, why a teacher and not a candle, right? It's a powerful object that will sit there. So I have an object of meditation. Stage 1, you've decided what you're going to put your mind on, the image of a teacher. That's it. You've reached stage 1 of meditation. Your mind, consciousness, has decided, I'm going to pay attention to this one thing, not the kitchen, the teacher, not breakfast, the teacher, not something else, the teacher. And then you'll quickly realize upon stage 1, you want to try and have regular connection to that image of a teacher, because you realize your mind's like, but what am I having for breakfast? No, you're supposed to be on the teacher. Okay, so you get distracted by a thought, you get distracted by a memory, you get distracted by something, and you don't realize that you're off the object. You're no longer on the teacher, you're having breakfast in your mind. When you realize this is the key. We all do this, right? From stage 1 to stage 2. You're like, shit, I'm having breakfast and I'm supposed to be focusing on the teacher. And I'm imagining yesterday's breakfast. When you do that, this is where either build joy or build depression. You go, I'm not on the object. I'm not on the teacher. This is a moment of profound awakening, because you were daydreaming.
Yeah.
And your mind all of a sudden went, hold on a minute. Yeah. You're not on what you promised to be. Why don't you return to the teacher? And in this process of returning, we say, I'm a bad meditator. I don't meditate very well. I'm doing it wrong. I should have done it better. And that is a problem. That's not meditation. That's not returning your attention to the object with joy. You could go, oh, I was thinking of breakfast. I wonder how long I was daydreaming. Maybe it was a minute. How exciting I woke up.
Yeah.
Because you didn't try to wake up. You just woke up. You won't find any text that says you can force yourself to wake up that you were daydreaming. This Buddha-ing, this wake-upness, this vibrant energy, you have some seed in you to say, wake up, you're not on the teacher anymore. Then the narratives will come. You're a piece of shit, or how awesome. So we invite our students at 3 Jewels to really hone in on that moment of saying, I'm off the object of meditation. And as soon as you realize you're not there, you should build some joy. Before returning, you go, I woke up. That's freaking awesome. I can focus my mind again on this thing. And now you're on stage 2, which is You on the object of meditation, there's a gap and an awakening moment, and you return, and then you return, and then you return. But the gaps are longer than the times you're on the object. Stage 2. Stage 3 is stage 3 of meditation. You are on the object longer than the gaps of distraction. But now you've habituated the joy of returning. Do you get this? Like you're like, I can't wait to catch my mind distracted again. Instead of what we mostly do, oh, I'm a bad meditator, I can't do this. Because that will have consequences. But the joy of returning will have different consequences. And you get excited, you get fired up, you get hopeful that if I can focus my mind a little bit longer on the object, and then not a little bit, but then longer on the object, then stage 3 is easier. You just bridge those gaps. And then you begin to have continuous attention with a little bit of patching. You're like, I'm on the object, I'm experiencing the teacher's lovely, I'm there, I'm connected, and all the things of focus towards this object. My mind is beginning to build continuous focus. That's awesome. Oh, I can feel breakfast calling me. I can feel the distraction, but I don't jump. I can have it on the peripheral, if you will, and I have a slight awareness that it's there, but I'm not losing the eye contact with my teacher. And then you get other techniques on staying on the object. And stage 4, it means you've got continuous attention on your object of meditation. They say for 2 rounds of a mala, or 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. You know, if you can stay there for 2.5 minutes, you are on stage 4 of the 9 stages of meditation. Yeah, and that's, everybody can do that. But the key is you could do that, and at the end of that process feel really bad that you're always distracted, and now I've worked really hard and I've achieved focus. Or by the end of that process, you can go, that's amazing. I tamed my mind with joy to return. And then that habit of joy begins to build and build and build. And you can't help yourself but be happy because you've just built it in your inside your meditation practice.
Yeah, I mean, in our tradition, it's also don't judge your mind if it's wandering. Treat it like a puppy, a dog puppy. Gently bring it back. Explain it like 1 million times, but it's not connected to the joy. And what I understood so far in my little mind is that I think your way of meditation gets very actualized in the moment, because the focus on the teacher or on a divinity is an advanced stage of meditation. And we start with this advanced stage. And my connection to my problems feels more intense than the connection to divinity, which I haven't yet built up, or of which I maybe only know a little bit. And if you connect it to the things which bother your mind, which is where you actually are, then there is like, it's sort of like, in a better way, like going to a therapist, because you work on your problem. No, you open yourself to receive another perspective or more development on the issues which present themselves in life. And that, I can imagine, is that what makes you, I want to meditate, and not, okay, when is the enlightenment coming? Okay, how many more incarnations? Which goddess have I been choosing? Okay, it was this one because she kills everybody else. Or, you know, it's too far away. No, I remember my teacher said there's people who meditate for 30 years and they never even meditated a single time. And I was like, gosh.
No, it's true. It's true.
I'm close to getting there.
It's true. It's got to be grounded in your reality. Now, the point of meditation is not to spend all of your time on the cushion. The point of meditation is to tame your mind, let it find focus and attention, ultimately understand you're fabricating reality. You're never stepping into a room that you didn't create. You're never really having an argument with anyone that you didn't cause by planting seeds of arguing before in your mind. When you see this is vipassana. So you have shamatha, which is focus, get your mind to focus. 9 stages of shamatha. You get overcoming subtle distractions and agitation or dullness. But then what happens once you've trained your mind to focus, then your mind can have a deep insight of you're the fabricator of everything. And when you are, your morality kicks in. Yeah. And this is where joy comes in.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are not actively creating goodness in your everyday world, even when you don't feel like it, if you're not actively creating goodness, joy, hope in a world that needs goodness, love, joy, hope, you're not planting the seeds that will force themselves to come out of you when you walk into the next room. So there's this practice of the 6 perfections, and its weird name, the 6 perfections, is 6 practices you do to Buddhahood, right? They're not really perfections. They're perfectionizers. They're things you practice to perfect your body and mind. And I list them. You would have heard them. They're generosity or giving, practice wanting others to have what you want, and what they want, actually. The practice of ethics, like treat people, stop harming people and start taking care of people, yamas and niyamas.
Exactly.
This one is super important. So if you build seeds of generosity, you must experience generosity back. If you practice seeds of ethics, taking care of other people, not harming people, you will not be harmed, and so on, if karma works, right?
Yeah.
The next one is very cool, that this is the third most important thing. It's called patience, but when you read the books, it means don't get angry when you are supposed to. Don't react with anger at all, ever, because it will only plant garbage in your mind, and it will burn up the goodness of giving and ethics. So stop being angry. That's hard, okay? Get this. So they say those 3 create the Buddha's body, right? I'm going to skip number 4 and go to 5 and 6, yeah? 5 is learn how to meditate, concentration, the perfection of concentration. Tame your bloody mind, because it's creating the garbage.
Yeah.
And 6 is the perfection of wisdom, which means understand emptiness, see emptiness directly. Now, what's 4? And the last 2 create the mind of an enlightened being. Yeah. Concentration and wisdom are activities of the mind. They will perfect your mind as a Buddha. The first 3 are physical activities, or activities of the world, what you say and what you do, generosity, ethics, and not getting angry. They perfect your body. What's in the middle? Get this. The perfection of joyous effort, joyful effort, which is defined getting off on doing good things, having joy in doing good things. And they say that 4th thing, flames, it's like the wind that makes the flame go stronger in the first perfections and the last 2 perfections. So the thing that will ignite your practice of generosity, ethics, and patience, and the thing that will ignite your practice of meditation and wisdom is joyful effort.
Yeah.
And if you habituate having fun, doing good things, then it just becomes what the mind always does. It creates a machine that repeats, and grows. Yeah. Except here we repeat, and grow. Depression, anger, frustration, blaming, victimhood. It's using the same mechanism, but for joy. Yeah, because that's all the mind does, is it grabs something, and it's like the shampoo node, like the conditioner, rinse and repeat, rinse, and our mind just does that naturally. And so you get super excited when you know that your practice is bringing some goodness to someone, and for some reason that practice of joyful effort just lit up at 3 Jewels. Like, people are vibrant, they're in their 20s, they haven't yet had the big disappointment, but they have enough tools now when the disappointment comes that they can turn it into joy and a learning. So then for them, impermanence of their career or whatever, which is going to come, they're not going to get depressed. They're going to see it as an opportunity to practice. And that's where I think my heart is. Can I hold these humans from not doing the human thing and creating more suffering when they probably would? And okay, I've got people now in their late 30s, in their early 40s, because they've been practicing with me for over 10 years, and they've already had the job disappointment, the relationship disappointment, and they're still in and they're still joyful. And that's a good sign for me.
Yeah, this is, it's very, very uplifting to listen to this. I know there's even more in your meditation techniques. I would also like to ask you in another session, like what kind of sort of failure sounds so, but what constitutes a problem on the meditation path? How do you help people overcome it? I'm a native German, and this seriousness, even so it's taught, like teachers always have been planting this in my mind and in all my co-students, Guru Bhai's minds, like never judge your mind, bring it gently, bring it back. Nevertheless, the judgment, what is happening with my students, it's happening. The most thing I do is stop them from self-loathing, basically. But I think the higher attraction factor is, and I'm sorry, but we are motivated basically by what we want. And there's always something, maybe enlightenment or not having something is also some wanting. And this is the carrot in front of the nose. And if you don't, I'm sorry to say, but if my experience from my little time here on this planet is, if you don't have it, nothing moves, or it moves for a while and then it fizzles away and it fades out. And the direct, basically the clapping on your shoulder, I woke up, I caught myself from the daydream, which is 90% what I'm doing in my outside, inside any life I'm leading. I woke up to cherish this little flame, and like little kids, which we are basically, getting encouragement and empowerment, and hey, you are on the way. You're breaking a super old form, which the entire civilization we live in has sort of cemented around you, and it gets absorbed in your mind. You mirror this thing, and you have to sort of hack through this and find it and practice it. But then you cultivate the joy and you get the fruits. And we have really from the Yoga Sutras, or no, it's from the Bhagavad Gita, like the action in action, or like in action, which is like sort of you act, but you completely release the fruits of the action. It's, for me, it's super if you can do it, but I'm still this little tiny human who sort of wants to, I don't even know how to express this, wants to make the most of life and do it in a joyful manner.
The way that I like that you said that, because some people have the misconception that you shouldn't have desire because the Buddha said don't have desire, right? Yeah. But it just means don't have ignorant desire. When you go look at the commentaries, of course the Buddha has desire. Of course the Buddha wants something. And we're like, what? They want you to get enlightened. They want you to stop suffering. That's desire. Basically, it's just not attachment to an outcome. That's what I think in the Bhagavad Gita, it means like action in action, right? Yeah. Don't expect it to happen because of what you did, but you should want people to not, you should have desire to get better. This place is garbage. We hurt each other. We bomb each other and we hurt ourselves. You want to get out of that. You must have a desire to get away from that. So what are we going to use? The very mechanism that got us in trouble in the first place. This, oh, I'm a good boy, I meditated. Oh, good. Okay, let that become the thing. Yeah. And then you got to be careful not to make it attachment. Yeah. Oh, you know, because when it becomes attachment, then you get judgment. I'm a bad meditator. I did it good today. It's not that. But you can use that inertia because we're good at that inertia, really good at it. Yeah. You know? Yeah.
Our favorite hiding way of hiding the inner.
Yeah.
Hector, thank you so much for sharing the details. I know in the scriptures, and my teacher mentioned it, but I couldn't keep it in mind. Like, you know, so many seconds without interruption being focused on one object is concentration. That multiplied by 7 is then, you know, there is things, super detailed numbers and stuff, but like how I don't teach it when I teach meditation, because it's sort of not mainstream what flows around me from my teachers. And to really like simple things like, okay, you choose an object of meditation wherever you are. And if you are in a separation or you have some love pain and this bothers you, then this is your object. So this really relates you to the presence. Number 2, you are super happy when you realize you wake up.
Keep returning. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you basically, you still have something where you can check yourself. Am I longer away from the object, or am I crossing the border to more often coming back and staying on the object and shortening the phases of wandering? I think this already is an internal feedback mechanism which makes you grow and is like a bodyguard, like pushing you along.
It's so cool. They call that state of mind sheshin, which is like a guard, the alarm bell that goes off when you're off the object. They're like, oh, they're guarding your awareness. It's cool that you called it that.
Activate the witness.
Yeah.
So in the next talk, of which I'm really hoping that you're open to, I would like to concentrate a little bit on what I said before. And for now, thank you so much. I really think the sharing, I mean, at least already for me, and I have a really long history of yoga and meditation. I am not embarrassed to admit it. I mean, I was in a business as well, like, and got this, how to say, not disrupted, but distracted, found other choice somewhere else. But I find it very enlightening, Mr. Enlightenment Studio.
What a joy to hang out with you. Thank you for asking these questions.
Thank you so much, everybody who's been listening. I hope you are inspired for your meditations, and stay tuned for our next session. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.